All right, so I've been playing around with making some maps. I just want to talk about a couple things real quick as I'm experimenting here. It's been a while since I've done this. I was playing with the lighting editor, trying to see what would happen if I use a lot of geometry for the terrain um, and try to make things as smooth as possible. You can see it's pretty smooth. It's not too bad. The only issue is that some of the shadows, you know, when there's a lot of faces, you'll find that this happens a lot, and this is something that used to happen, and I wasn't sure if it would continue to happen, but sure enough, it does. You get these little like shading differences when you use a lot of polygons on your models, creating levels. So they look faceted, and I said this earlier in a video. You know, you can't force GR to do some things. So I'm going to play with the lighting editor and try to see if I can't get this minimized. And I'll be doing a lighting video after I play around with it a little bit more to see how that goes. On the other hand, I did try floating some geometry, just doing some basic static mesh and laying it in here the way some other games have done in the past, such as Far Cry. And you can see uh, it is here, and it does work. It actually has a pretty good hit collision detection on it. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I should probably make a barrier for it, but it's not too bad. But a barrier would be a lot nicer. So this is a bunch um, of the same model laid in over and over again in the same spot. The only difference here is I had to cut out the floor polygon, which actually runs up to this cliff wall, just like it is right here. And I had to cut it out right here so that you couldn't see it, or so that when you're using the command map to make a mission or whatever, someone doesn't accidentally place a character inside of these objects, because you could do that if the floor polygon ran all the way through. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, you know, you can place them like that, but you do have to do a little bit of cleanup. And on the other hand here, something else that was interesting that came up, I did not set a collision detection up for this little edge here. And what ended up happening was I was able to run up to this and then jump down, and I ended up going through the rock and onto the floor down here. And that's a pretty big gap. You know, that polygon is way up in there in that area, and I jumped all the way over. So I mean, you know, that's a pretty good gap there, and then I ended up inside of a rock. So I extruded an edge just to create a invisible barrier, and for whatever reason, when I did that in Max, I got this nice gap here now, and that's something you would not want in your level for sure. So I'm not real sure why I did that exactly, but um, you might want to create your collision barriers in Blender before you even bring it over into Max, and just pay very close attention to things like this. You know, I would highly recommend laying out the vast majority of your level in Blender, and then just bringing it in little by little, and checking for things like that before you even get to lighting and everything else. Because what ends up happening is things like that. So definitely take your time with these. Don't rush it. Spend your time in Blender more than in 3D Studio Max for sure. Here you can see kind of layered this thing together sloppily, and that lighting is still doing its thing over here as well. This UV map's not great either. I'm sure that doesn't help it, but you know, some of this geometry is pretty dense in some areas. So it did better than I actually anticipated for the most part. Now this level is obviously just a practice thing for me, but um, you can see some of it shades real nice. These larger faces will always shade nicer in my opinion. But if you do create little objects like I had laid in over there, little rocks, you know, you could end up with some pretty stellar results. Let's jump over here real quick. I want to show you this one because this is a concave kind of setup here. Once again, you get lighting issues here, and they're pretty apparent. So before I do that lighting tutorial, I'm going to want to check all that out and see if I can't get them to behave a little bit more better somehow. I don't know if I will be able to. I don't think anybody has. It's better to just use a single large face, I think, or a couple large faces compared to using, this thing is diced up. There's a edge running right here. There's an edge running right here. And then it's split down the middle twice, I think. You can see up here that just has that little artifact kind of, or it's a discrepancy in the shadow map anyways. And plus the way I have this level set up with all the sticky edges, you can see the AI characters right now because I haven't set up collision detection properly. They're just, they're having a hard time. Right. Oh, other than that, the terrain itself kind of looks pretty cool. I think it's supposed to be like a wadi in Afghanistan, and I like it. It's pretty neat. It'd need a lot of cleanup though, and I'd have to go through and optimize a lot of it. So I probably won't use this terrain. It's just for practice, and it seems to work out for the most part pretty well. This is a big artifact on this side, and yeah. Let's see what happens in the future. Let's go ahead and jump out of here. Let's just take a quick look at it in Blender. And I'm going to show you what's going on here, what I'm talking about with the let's go to layout here. Now in Blender, believe it or not, let me get out of this. You see that collision wall I was talking about. Let me hop out of there. We're going to take a look over here. And this is those models I was talking about. And you can see if I turn on the wireframe here, maybe you can see it, I don't know. This is the edge of the terrain. I just cut it with a knife tool. Just went to town. I didn't optimize it or nothing, but so quick and dirty, pretty much. That's the way that went. And I forgot to do this one over here, or I added this rock later, so I'd have to finish cutting it. Pretty much, what you expect, knife tool. And then you just go find a spot you like, try to follow the shapes. Once you do this, you can't move them again. So, I mean, you could move them, but it'd kind of be a pain. Oh, I already did cut it out. I didn't delete it. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. Sorry. Got this backwards. Let's go to solid real quick. Not scope, solid. There. So you can see when I press Alt Z, it's hard to see what I'm doing. So taking a wild stab here in the dark. Try to cut when it turns yellow. If it turns yellow. Just follow it on the inside. Press enter. And then you can grab the faces in there too, if you can see them. Do I not have? Oh, there we go. I was like, why can I not see these things? I should be able to see these. And I believe I started cutting right there, right? Yeah, so just delete those faces. And that's what I'm saying. You can kind of float things. And apparently it works just fine as long as you cut that floor out a little. A little bit sloppy and not as neat, but doable. And it looks really good. Oh, and if you have Eevee, check this out. You can mimic the lighting in Ghost Recon pretty well. Not too bad. It's going to look a little nicer than Ghost Recon though, and this is in real time, which is kind of sad, but that's what new technology does, I guess. If you check this out, I have a sun that I've created somewhere. I don't know why it's not showing up. There it is. It's an extra. I had turned all my lighting off. The sun is very easy to create. Shift A. Just create a light sun, and then this guy will pop up. And I just bumped the strength up a little bit. But what I also did is I went in the world tab, and the background color here, turned it a little bit blue. Put it about halfway. All right. So this sun now, I can kind of move around wherever I need to. Just rotate it, and it'll start to cast shadows. This is using Eevee, not Cycles. So if you go to the Render tab, Eevee, it's the default one. So it's a lot of fun to get this kind of setup going. So you can kind of like visualize what you want to do with the lighting editor when you get to that point. And certainly have a lot of fun with it. And so these guys, once again, same model, repeated over and over. That's all it is. It's cut out in the back and on the bottom. It's just tossed in there. You know, Far Cry did this, and a lot of other games have done this. So the original Far Cry, I think Crysis did it too. Crysis 2, I think, as well, did something very similar, I think. It's been a while since I've even looked at a model from Crysis 2, so yeah, this will work out, and it doesn't look bad in game. Not too bad, anyways. I would say make them a little. See how many polygons they have? I would say make them a little less polygonal. You know, maybe not have a side edge. You know, maybe do something more like that. Try to keep those as minimal as possible. You can make them almost a cube, and it's still, even if you did that, you know, it's still going to add some kind of detail to your level that otherwise you normally wouldn't get, because it's really hard to work some shapes like that back into the terrain and just have it all marry up together with each other perfectly. It's a little challenging. On the other side, remember that one area where let's fly over there real quick. That concaved area. You know, you can see it lights pretty good in Blender, but in GR not so much. Let's take a look at that with the wireframe. And you can see how many faces are actually there. I told you there was quite a bit. It's hard to see it, but let's turn it solid. No, not single material there. Yeah, so that is that's a lot of faces for GR. You really don't need that many. You could just break this down probably like that. That would be better than what we had for lighting anyways, most likely. I'm going to go ahead and play with that lighting editor like I said though, and I'm going to play with it as much as possible to try to figure out if I can't get some of these things to shade more appropriately. And I'm going to try a different I'm going to try a test scene just for that specifically, I think. Not this big terrain section that I've been playing around on. But, you know, pretty soon here, I'll have those coming. So the lighting editor tutorial, lighting your maps, command maps will be coming after I get a level created. I want to create just a small level and have it done. So I can talk about some things like importing trees, building doors, and then I'll do setting up the lighting and then building the command map, and we'll move on from that. It is coming. I just wanted to give you a little update for the new year. Happy New Year's. It is 12:41 a.m. into the new year, so 41 minutes in 2021 now. All right, and that's it for this video. Thanks for checking it out, and I hope you getting interested now maybe a little bit in how you can still create things for this game and experiment with it and have a little bit of fun. All right. See you in the next one.